right, so it's a pleasure to meet you, Joel.
Thanks, man.
I guess first question is, what aspect of creating music excites you the most?
Finishing something's really cool. Working on something and getting it to the point where you then are ready to show it to somebody as a recording or a song. I like that, and really more just the even before the recording process, just feeling like a song is written. That's exciting to me.
So what do you find most discouraging?
About the creative process?
Yeah.
The challenges of nothing's discouraging. It's just the challenges of like trying to recreate things live that you hear in your head, or sometimes you imagine something being really epic or mighty, and then you try and document what you have in your head as a whole other world and so there's that's a bit of an exercise sometimes, but I don't find any of it discouraging. I guess the only challenge sometimes is there's a sea of music out there, so I've been fortunate enough to find an audience, build it, and people taking a listen to what I do, so that's really encouraging. I think it would be a bit more frustrating if I felt like I was doing stuff and nobody was listening. I can recognize that can be a challenge for people who are especially probably just trying to get something started and might be really creative, but they just haven't got the audience yet. So I'm going to look at a spot now.
So on top of the CN Tower is a pretty unusual place. Is this the most unusual place you've ever played a show or made a recording?
There have been some pretty unusual gigs, but this is certainly the highest gig we've ever done. Well, maybe Aspen, Colorado or something was higher than this, but it's cool. I'm trying to think of what's been more bizarre than this. It's a pretty glassy room. It's not the finest sounding space here in the CN Tower, but we will we'll get high nonetheless and rock it.
You having any upcoming tours in the works now? Any trips to St. John's in your future?
Definitely going to be happening in the future. It's just a matter of getting it, putting it on the calendar. It'll be a little while. I got a pretty big tour agenda from here, from the West Coast through Central Canada in April and May, and so I'm waiting on the Maritimes to find a good spot. Hopefully, maybe by the fall, if fingers crossed for St. John's.
What musical periods or styles do you find yourself listening to now?
I love I'm all over the map, but I love 50s stuff is really a big part of it. 50s and some 40s, like Hoagie Carmichael. But lots of music from the 50s and lots of music from the 70s. I don't skip over the 60s entirely. If I go to the 60s, it's usually for soul music. That's my favorite era for soul is the 60s. Irma Thomas, the Stax stuff. All the stuff from Muscle Shoals, late 60s and early 70s. But for rock, 50s and 70s. 60s doesn't. I know there was a lot of good stuff, but it's just not. I don't find myself listening to it.
Do you find that where you have lived has influenced your musical style or taste?
Yeah, sure. In a huge way. The whole scene I grew up in Halifax just informed my whole sensibility and my. Everything. Just like aesthetics, sense of humor, sense of what is and isn't cool. It's all formed by, my basic opinions were all formed when I was 16 to 18. I've loosened up and embraced more since then, I think. But the foundation of it is definitely informed by the place and the time. That was Halifax in the 90s,
So what inspires you to write new songs? Do you just see a cute girl and all of a sudden the song pops to your head, or do you find yourself sometimes I don't
know, sometimes a conversation or a moment of reflection about something, sometimes just a lyric starts it, and really the reason I do it is just because it's what I do, it's what I know how to do, and it's this sort of this self-expression and this sort of exercise too, in a weird sort of way, to kind of keep my brain moving towards something. It's just creating things, you know. And I think if I were, you know, it's sort of like asking, you know, why does somebody go to work to make shoes, or you know, you just, if it's something that you feel
Something, if it's your calling, it's your calling. Like me doing photos, it's just what I'm drawn to do. It's just, it's nice to ask other people what inspires them. So days when I'm feeling down, I can
you draw inspiration from other people doing stuff. And I don't know. I think for me, it's just become a way of. It started as sort of fun and then personal expression, and now it's just a way of life. It's second nature.
Who's your favorite person you've toured with or performed?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a favorite. The Hip tour was great. It was really nice to be around those guys, inspiring.
My first gig doing photos was actually of the Hip.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was a great experience. You know, opening for Paul McCartney was cool. You know, didn't meet him, but that was a cool opportunity. But then all the people I've played with, probably my favorite people are my friends that, you know, I share the stage with, The Emergency, or Pete Elkis, who plays in the band sometimes, Anna and Iggy, who sang, Anna and Rose Cousins, who sang on the 3 tour with me. So opportunities just to kind of do shows with people that I've got a connection to is really my favorite thing. And lots of great bands out there that we've been able to get to know a little bit. But you know, there's nothing really better than being surrounded by talented friends.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's like 5 minutes. That's good enough for me for now.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for taking the time to answer the questions. And we'll see you next time you come to St. John's.
All right, I look forward to it.
All right.